Yo, check it out, DGL7 here, aka Ed Lee, running for Assembly 36, and today's another one of my daily vlogs, so let's talk about it. So, today I'm going to talk about what's going on in public housing. I'm one of I don't know any other activists. There's some people who are maybe like 10 associate presidents who might have been around, public housing system, but I'm one of the few activists that actually has a body of work going back to the Obama era, when RAD PAC was originally passed under Obama. That's right. So right now, you could see that there's a lot of this kind of stop privatization, stop RAD PACs. But the thing is that activists who were around during that era, like myself, well, I'm really one of the only ones left, I'm being silenced. I also work with the parents of Gavin Centrone. You could look up his death caused the resignation of CEO and chair Gregory Russ. You could also see that I have, if you go to my channel, you see me testifying in DC. You'll see me in Albany addressing many things in public housing. Just so you know, activism is largely controlled by two millionaire groups, one on one side, one on the other side, both with bad intentions. One's a wolf, the other one's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the people whose issues need to be addressed are being completely ignored. And honestly, the one that's really more dangerous, would you rather have a wolf that's honest or a wolf that's in sheep's clothing? So I'm gonna tell you right now that there's a lot of this kind of what happens on the left, this kind of sloganeering, where they'll come out with a simplistic message, but they're really covering up a lot of stuff. So we're gonna get into it right now. So the thing is that, think about it, right? During Obama's era, and this is what happens when a lot of times Democrats get elected, they actually passed welfare cuts were really passed under Clinton. I've been on welfare a bunch of times, and they literally give you a speech at the welfare office about how Clinton's the one who cut the stuff, which is hilarious. Under Obama, they actually agreed to end public housing as we know it. So what's the first thing you're going to ask? Obviously, it's what's going to happen to people living there, right? How could this be a good thing? So this is what was told to activists like myself back in the day. And remember that this RAD PAC, even though it signals the end of public housing as we know it, okay, this passed without any significant controversy. Do you remember, right, if you were old enough to go back to the Obama era, do you remember a whole bunch of outcry and outrage that they're ending public housing as we know it? No? Okay? The thing is that at that time, it never would have passed without the existence of something called availability, something called resident management ownership, right? You have something called resident management corporations, blah, 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 whatever. The thing is that the people living there have that possibility of owning a home. And remember that during the Obama era, there was a lot of minorities who bought their home on bad mortgages that were adjustable rate mortgages, and they actually lost their home. There was a lot of talk about repairs as well, too. I don't know if you remember back in that era, but there was all kinds of TV commercials about people repairing their home. So a lot of the discussion that you'll see about public housing and, oh, we've got to do the repairs, okay? This is a smokescreen for a trap that was already laid before. That's why a lot of young people are sucked into this fight who don't remember back to the Obama era, all those ads on TV. These ads still exist. You can Google them. You can look for these ads on YouTube. I'm dead serious. So, look, RAD PAC Section 9 could be good or bad. That's public housing. Privatization could be good or bad. They try to say one thing is good, one thing is bad. We're going to slap this label. They love to do that, right? They accuse the right of doing this, right? Yeah, they'll say, oh, you're gay, so you're bad. Oh, so you're this, so you're bad, right? Be careful about the labels. It's a very incomplete understanding. So the thing is that the key is, I have this saying which says, actually, I love 12 Ales for this. She says, nothing about us without us. If the people that are living in those buildings have no say over what's going on, right? Did they put solar panels on your roof? And you're asking what's going on. Are they actually switching your heating systems to electric, and you don't know, they're switching out your refrigerator, and you have no say in what refrigerator they're putting in your building? Are they buying refurbished refrigerators and paying full price for them? There's a lot of shenanigans and corruption going on. In fact, the largest bust in federal Department of Justice history happened in NYCHA, okay? For you to think that the accident that's happening right in front of your face and that's easily accessible is the real thing, You gotta be kidding yourselves. In fact, that's why I'm running for office right now, to bring attention to this matter, but there's a lot of other people that have run for office that the press never covered them. So I know how this is gonna kind of run, but I'm just fighting for every inch right here, okay? So within the public housing system, right now, the another person I'm gonna shout is Fight for NYCHA. Fight for NYCHA is right. The private market cannot be trusted to take care of our most vulnerable. But the idea is that after we take the poor people and allow them to own their homes, let's take a look at this, for example, right? If I'm in public housing and the person across the street has owned a brownstone, right? Yeah? And that brownstone shot up in value to over $1 million because of gentrification in the neighborhood. The person who was living in public housing was also a part of that community, possibly even lived in that apartment for generations. That's why they want to knock all these buildings down, because that destroys the history of them living in this apartment. You understand? They're trying to rewrite history. They're writing me out of history of public housing activism. All these fake ass activists out here. I'm dead serious. I get a lot of hate out here. I get attacked all the fucking time. What I got to lose? I don't care. What are they going to do? Make me more homeless? What are they going to do? Gentrify the anti-war activism more? While my people are on the verge of a nuclear war front and also starving to death and carpet bombed like crazy? Yeah, you never heard about that, right? That's Korea right there. You have no idea. Anyways, so honestly, you can see on my list of endorsements, you can see I'm endorsed by the former co-chair of Memphis DSA, a trans woman. You can see that I'm endorsed by the longest incarcerated man in New York State history, Otis Johnson. You'll also notice that I have absolutely zero endorsements from anyone in public housing. And by the way, I'm going to get one from the parents of Gavin Centrone if I got to. They've just moved to Florida. People are being threatened in public housing. There's a lot of gangster activity going on. Think about it, right? Each apartment in public housing is worth $1 million, at least. In Chelsea, it's worth more. And in the development that has maybe 600 to 1,000 units, you're easily talking about $1 billion. And remember, there's about maybe 80, 100 units, 80, 100 developments in New York City that are public housing, not counting Mitchell-Lama. Okay? $80 billion. You think they're going to let activists like me talk about it? They're going to kill me first, dead serious. So, but I don't get to be nothing in this world, so I don't care. Right? They'll tell you that my people never suffered, never accomplished nothing, never did nothing. Without political power, nothing achieved, accomplished, sacrificed can ever be recognized or celebrated. Listen, I was back in that fight during the day, and when the poor people get their apartments in public housing, the next step is we create new public housing for people with disabilities that's better suited for their needs, and without predatory elevator contracts that's breaking down every other day. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Without people getting contracts to repair the walls, that's purposefully doing the repairs in a shitty manner so they can come back next year and collect another paycheck. Okay? Yeah. All right, folks. So there's a lot of smoke screens and shams. There's a lot more coming out, but that's today's blog. We got other things to say. God bless it, right? This is one of the saddest stories of my whole entire activism, I guess you could say portfolio. All right, peace.